The Republican Party was the largest civil rights organization in America when it was founded in 1854. But today, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, is the largest civil rights organization in America. I've been a member there since 2017 when I unsuccessfully ran for governor. And I since became a member of the executive committee in Stamford, Connecticut in 2020. So later chair of the education committee. I've written 2 books since then, which were inspired and started with my involvement with the NAACP. And I strongly believe that the Republican Party needs to again become the largest civil rights organization in America. Our first candidate for governor was John C. Fremont in 1856. Followed by Abraham Lincoln in 1860. When it was the largest civil rights organization in America, it dominated presidential politics for decades. In 1856, its first platform, it opposed the extension of slavery into free territories. We were to prohibit polygamy and slavery in our land and against test oaths to deny the people the right to vote, as well as fighting for the freedom of speech, which had been abridged at that time. After Abraham Lincoln became the president, we had the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in September 1862 that effective January 1, 1863, any enslaved persons that could make it to Union lines would be free. Border states that had not joined the rebellion, slaves in those states had to wait until the passage of the 13th Amendment by the Republican Congress prohibiting slavery, followed by the 14th Amendment by the Republican Congress to extend the rights and privileges of our federal Constitution to the states. The 15th Amendment, that the right to vote would not be abridged based on one's status previously as a slave. This was followed in June 1919. Republican Congress passed the 19th Amendment to give women the right to vote. That was ratified in August 1920. In 1918, Republican Congressman Leonidas Dreyer had introduced the anti-lynching bill. And that was finally passed by a Republican Congress in 1922. It had won 225 seats. 222 Republicans voted for the bill. Where the last 3 were, nobody knows, but they didn't vote against it. Only 8 Democrats out of 207 voted for the anti-lynching bill. Democrats in the Senate filibustered the bill so it could not pass the Senate. The Republican Party must again become the largest civil rights organization in America. To protect our rights to our speech, press, assembly, and religion. Certainly to protect our right to bear arms. One right that is not specifically mentioned in our Constitution is the right to work with your hands and your back. And that is as valuable as the others, because without the right to be able to work with your hands and back and put food on your plate, what good are the other rights? Well, the socialists know that very well. In countries where they own the means of production, that means the state is the employer. And if the state determines that you are disloyal to them, you will lose your job. What can you do? And you cannot exercise your rights to freedom of speech, press, assembly, and religion when you are hungry and starving. Socialists have put that to good effect to control their peoples time and again. But let's get back to the right to work with your hands and back to put food on your plate. As a fundamental right, it is subject to strict scrutiny at the Supreme Court level. Then any right affecting a fundamental right must have a compelling state purpose to be constitutional. And the way the state regulates that right must be narrowly tailored to achieve the government purpose. I'm going to suggest to you that all of our home improvement contractor acts, which regulate our ability to dig ditches, paint, fix screen doors, cut the grass, none of these qualify for regulation as a fundamental right. But again, let's go back to the need for the Republican Party to become the largest civil rights organization in America. We must push back against a plethora of governmental regulations of our work, as well as the permitting to be allowed to do a work, to be allowed to create an enterprise. This is structural statism, structural racism. Structural statism are the hurdles, burdens, and barriers that the state puts in the way of the citizen to get an education, to get a job, to start a business, to run a business, to put food on their plate, to put a roof over the head of their children, and to pursue happiness as they see fit. As blacks have 1/8 the net worth of whites, every hurdle is higher, every burden is heavier, and every barrier is thicker, which comprises structural racism. You can read about this in my 100 Questions book, which coincidentally did come out of my time at the Stanford NAACP, where my President Guy Fawkes, after the killing of George Floyd, asked that I write a two-pager for our Caucasian friends on how to fight systemic racism. And that assignment grew to that book. My African American minister was also generous in his time to read the transcript and point out mistakes and offer a different perspective to make the book better. The standard was that it wasn't a terrible book. The case for the National Slavery Memorial and aid to our HBCUs also came a NAACP resolution process where we could send ideas to the national NAACP. That idea makes sense, as if Germany can have the Holocaust Memorial to commemorate their historic wrong for the murder of 6 million European Jews, the United States of America can establish a National Slavery Memorial on the National Mall that will make us better. For the Republicans to dominate presidential, congressional, and state elections into the future, the Republican Party must again become the largest civil rights organization in America and dismantle the structural statism that screws all citizens over in general. Get a job, to get a good education, to start a business, run a business, to put a roof over your head, put food on the plate of your children, and to pursue happiness as you see fit. As blacks have 1/8 the net worth of whites, every hurdle is higher, every burden heavier, and every barrier thicker. We must work together as a united nation to expand and recapture our personal liberties against the onslaught of the statists who push to expand the width and breadth of the state over our lives. By rededicating ourselves to the principles on which this nation was founded, in liberty and having the citizen as the sovereign of the nation, the Republican Party can make America greater still. Thank you.